Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. While we're getting started, just remember to mute your mic if there's background noise, and feel free to unmute yourself at any point. I also encourage everyone to use your webcams if you have them available. And so as you know, today we're going to be doing a social media panel. So we have a handful of folks that have agreed to share their knowledge, their social media knowledge with us. So I thought we'd start by just introducing the four. If you wouldn't each mind telling us who you are, where you are, and just briefly about your position. I'm in the room with Becca and RJ. We'll start with them.
Sure. I'm RJ Anderson. I'm the communications team leader here at Extension Administration. Been running our social media accounts for like 2 years now, and we have an Instagram account that we kind of started a year ago. We have a fairly established Facebook account, and then a Twitter account that's been growing the last couple of years as well.
All right. Hi guys, I'm Becca Fox. I'm the new media specialist in university relations, specifically strategic communications. And so I came to Cornell around 2.5 years ago. And so I oversee kind of the main institutional level, Cornell, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and I help with YouTube as well.
Very good. And let's see, I'm just going to go alphabetically. Connie.
Hi, my name is Connie Fisk. I'm the Northwest Regional Extension Associate for the Produce Safety Alliance, which is part of the Food Science Department. I serve growers, trainers, and regulators in Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and Alaska from my home office in Nebraska. So I'm a little bit different there. I've been in Extension since 2006, and so I've kind of seen social media use in Extension grow through that time. I joined PSA back in 2017. They only had a Facebook account, and I started managing that, as well as now we have Twitter and Instagram.
Excellent, thank you. And Casey.
I am Casey Deemer. I am the communication specialist for the Cornell Small Farms Program and the Local and Regional Food Systems Initiative here on campus, but we serve small farmers statewide. It will be a year next week that I've been in the position. When I started, the only active channel was Facebook, but there was a Twitter that had been dormant. In my time, I've reactivated that account. I've also launched an Instagram and been more active on our YouTube channel as well. And in terms of social media experience, I started my career as a journalist. So I've been on kind of that end of social media, and then have kind of turned into more communications and outreach and education. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. And Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole Slevin. I'm the Administrator and Diversity Officer for Cornell Cooperative Extension in Sullivan County. I have over 10 years of Extension service, having started as an administrative assistant and an educator, and then eventually adopted responsibilities in IT and marketing, where I took over our one lonely inactive Facebook account. I built it up and added multiple other platforms and sister accounts, and populated it with research-based content. Ultimately, I joined management and began supervising other employees whom I train and provide a strategic framework for them to do more of the social media management.
Great. And Tara.
Hello, I'm Tara. I'm from CCE Ulster down in the Hudson Valley, not far from Nicole actually. And my background is in digital media management. I've been with Cooperative Extension for just about 3 years now, though I did 4-H when I was a kid, so I'm very familiar. And I'm operations coordinator, but a lot of my role is around managing our media and our public relations.
Great. Well, thank you again, all panelists, for joining us today and sharing your insights with the group. So the plan for today is we have some preloaded questions that the panelists have prepared answers to, so we'll start with those. then we will move to just an open Q&A. But if questions arise while we're still in the preset question phase, feel free to type them in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and speak up too if you'd like. And for the panelists, if there's anything that you want to share, if you want to take a look at a social media account or something, feel free to screen share at any point. And if you guys want to do that, I'll do it for you. All right, so we don't necessarily have to go in any particular order for answering the questions. So I'm just going to read the question and lay it out there for you guys. And one thing I want to mention as well is that even if you're not a panelist, if you have some insights and suggestions or things that you'd like to share with the group, please feel free to speak up. We can all learn from each other, not just from the panelists. So I think you all answered the question about what platforms you're using. But if you didn't in your introduction, we can do that in addition to the first question, which is, what is your #1 time-saving strategy?
Do you want to start?
Sure. I mean, I wish I had one. I guess it's just routine. I'm checking our accounts, in the morning, at lunch, and then before leaving, and then before leaving work for the day, and then in the evening occasionally. And when it's time to post, I'll post our Facebook and our Twitter posts at the same time. Tailoring them to the different audiences, but kind of using the same little time window to get those posts up. I mean, other than that, I'm just kind of rolling with the punches.
Yeah. So mine's kind of similar. I think it's kind of redundant, but the #1 time-saving strategy is to know your communication strategy and know what your content calendar is going to look like. That way, you kind of sometimes are always going to feel like you're playing a game of Tetris. But if you have a clear content strategy, know what buckets of content you're going to get from when you post, or if you do scheduling. You're not kind of left to be like, oh, what am I going to post today? Oh, I need to find something to post today, because you clearly outline your goals for that platform, who you're trying to communicate with, where you're going to get content, whether it's you're promoting an event, a research piece, maybe you can go on to the Chronicle site, maybe it's a strong photo. And if you have those buckets kind of outlined, it really helps when you have slow days or you're overwhelmed with other work, when you have it all outlined in a calendar.
I'll go ahead next, and I think having an organized asset or photo folder is extremely helpful, so that you know where you're going to find content to post.
And I would just say I follow 784 Twitter accounts, and I don't have time to scroll through all those posts. So one of my recommendations is to use a social media management platform like TweetDeck or Hootsuite. Because that will allow you to curate different lists that you might want to keep a closer eye on. And again, as was mentioned before, make sure you're checking at least once a day to stay on top of those for things you might want to share.
So in Sullivan County, we have an Instagram account, Facebook, we use Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Facebook is the most popular and active for CCE in Sullivan. We have sister accounts on each platform in some cases for different programs where it's relevant. And the #1 time-saving strategy, I would say, is, like you said, knowing that you have a strategy and a content calendar. But for Facebook, it's scheduling out a week or more ahead of time. It's the easiest, most effective way we've had with saving time and becoming more reliable sources of information for our audience. And for Instagram, saving a formula for hashtags. So like go-to blocks of hashtags categorized for content theme. So if you have a 4-H post or ag or hort or healthy families, etc., including local hashtags too helps. But really just having that a go-to copy and paste situation to save time.
Very good. Anyone?
just to bounce off of the hashtags, we also use a hashtag at the Small Farms program to solicit follower-generated content, which has been rather successful, and usually we have at least 2 of those to share a week on Instagram in particular to kind of fill out our content calendar. So there's always a bucket of at least 5 or 6 user-generated posts to go in when we don't have something specific from our program or the CALS team to promote that day.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else on the call want to share a time-saving strategy that you popped into your head during this conversation? All right. So the next question is, what exciting or promising social media trends have you seen recently? Anybody take it away?
I really think Instagram is starting to take over in terms of grasping onto the social media market. They introduced Instagram TV, which is directly competing with YouTube now. They have Instagram Stories, which compete with Snapchat. They're expanding on their filters. They have Collections now, which competes with Pinterest. And they have been talking also about eliminating likes, public-facing likes, because of that. They say it's causing, mental instability in our society and everything. So apparently that might be a change that's coming up. That you can still see the likes on your own page, but you can't see how many likes that other people have on their page. So that'll be interesting because I think that's a large part of the Instagram culture right now. But I do think that Instagram is really finding ways to take over the social media segment.
Yeah, to kind of go off of that, I mean, for us, for Cornell, our Instagram account is our fastest growing platform. And because of that, a year ago, we kind of chose to kind of leave Snapchat for our admissions account and really focus on an Instagram story, kind of different series and stuff like that, because stories, according to market research, are projected to kind of surpass feed posts in terms of engagement. And kind of like you said, just different ways to engage with people. People can send stories to one another, reply very easily. You can do like polls, countdowns. You can add like stickers and GIFs. So they're really being smart about it, and they're coming up with more and more ways to create and share expressive, authentic content. And I think people just flock to that.
And in our system, I'm seeing some people are doing a really good job, like using the Instagram stories to cover events. It's a good way to, connect with your audience without spamming them, through your regular feeds.
Yeah.
So it seems to be an effective tool for that, especially.
Yeah. We did that during commencement. Like we posted a couple photos and then we kind of put in one of the photo captions, follow along in our story for more, just because one, I had so many photos that I didn't want to spam people. And yeah, it's just easier. You can it's more of like a tell the story from like beginning to end kind of thing chronologically. Yeah.
And to add what Tara was saying a little bit about Instagram removing like the likes because it is affecting the confidence of young people. I see there's a shift happening, and some people are writing about where audiences are preferring more authentic content with real world social context and things like that, and more personalized experiences over the glossy, like photoshopped images and idyllic environments. And so like you'll see photos look more like they were taken with a disposable camera, for instance, no makeup, things like that. And not so much because of our CCE platforms, but just in general, I'm excited about that trend personally.
On that as well, I think the captions on Instagram in particular are also becoming more kind of authentic and honest. And I've seen it in particular with our farm followers, and some of the kind of best success we've had in those follower generated posts. There was one back in the fall of a farmer who, just was walking around and saw a bunch of eggs and started filling up her sweatshirt pocket. And it's, you know, a pretty poor quality photo, but the caption that she wrote and shared with us did so well. And a bunch of people responded like, oh, I've done that and then forgot and accidentally smashed a bunch of eggs. And it really started a dialogue about just kind of the realities of farm life. And I see that, you know, beyond kind of the farmer-based Instagram, but in any type of topic area, it's just becoming a little bit more raw.
Oh, one thing I wanted to add that I think that we always kind of keep in the back of our mind is depending on like your strategy and what your goals are and what platforms you're on, some trends are going to make sense for you and then some aren't. So Instagram stories make sense for us because for Instagram, we're really communicating with students and young alumni. But then sometimes we don't choose to incorporate some parts of the Instagram story, like with different GIFs and stuff, just because sometimes it trivializes it and doesn't serve our mission. So I always say a decision not to utilize a strategy is still a strategic decision, because if it takes away from the clarity of your communication and doesn't add anything, then it's not worth it. And I'm not saying to like, don't experiment, but you kind of always want to stick to your strategy and know why you're doing it and why you're trying out this new trend. And we do that all the time whenever new trends come up and kind of dissect it and see, is it going to add value? You know, should we just test it out and then look at the analytics and stuff like that?
That's kind of one thing that's kind of kept us away from like live streaming stuff.
That's same here.
Our audience isn't really built for that, but like,
Yeah.
I've seen some great live streaming footage coming from the associations who do kind of have those built-in audiences, those built-in events that lend themselves to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyone else, any exciting trends?
Well, along with a comment that's in the chat about accessibility, all three platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, now allow alt text for their images, which is great.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's some information about the different accessibility options on social media at accessibility.cce.cornell.edu. If you go there, there's a tab for social media, and I've linked to a bunch of different resources that show you how to add alt text and then some other accessibility options. So check that out if you haven't already.
We should probably also add that video is an exciting trend. They're saying that it's more engaging. If you're doing short videos with the text overlay, you know, people can scroll through and just read. It's not doing long videos, but the short ones can get attention and keep attention longer. So it's a great way to convey some more information to our audiences.
Yeah, I for one never listen to volume on videos anymore.
The stats on our videos are like 80-90% with sound off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really like the captioning trend.
Yeah.
Because everybody's at work.
Yeah.
So.
Like we're like on the bus or something. So
All right, great. So moving on to the next question. Please share an example of a particularly successful social media post that you created, and what do you think made it successful?
So along with that last comment, I went back and looked at our Facebook post, because Facebook, we have the most followers on Facebook for Produce Safety Alliance. And the most popular post this year was a short video that I created in Biteable. So it's got a musical tune behind it, but you don't have to listen to that to get the content from the video. It's like a minute and a half, and it had almost 9,000 people reached. We only have 1,400 people that follow that account. So that means it was shared by that many people, which was pretty fantastic.
Connie,
the other thing that was good about it is, go ahead.
What was the content? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so it was about a new program called On-Farm Readiness Reviews that is being developed and promoted by the National Association for State Departments of Agriculture. So I think that's another thing is I took some content from a collaborator, I turned it into a short video to teach our audience about what that program was about. And so I added value to that information and then provided a link to that outside source so they could go find the contact in their state. So that was our most successful post this year.
Nice.
Functional content. Who knew? Like,
Yeah.
I can share the screen because I have both of your
Oh, yeah.
examples pulled
do you want
up.
to go first?
Sure. I mean, I just highlighted a couple posts that we did in the last month. One was reposting a video that has been really successful for us. This is National Dairy Month, so in honor of that, we put up one of our dairy videos that just happens to be very popular. It's actually was made a couple years ago, and it's kind of long. If I was to remake this video, it would not look like this, but
Yeah, but look at the shares. Like that's.
the shares is incredible.
Yeah, that's what gets people, like the reach so high, kind of what someone mentioned on there too.
Right, and I mean, a lot of that I think also like has to do with like the organic reach of our audience, like reaching them, the community that lives and works with the people that are featured in this video. Like they really did a lot of water carrying as far as promoting this video. But we've trotted this out like nine times. I think I've
Good,
reshared
use
it.
it for all it's worth.
And the other one is a podcast that we just put out, which I found out today has surpassed all other podcasts we've done in popularity, and it's our shortest one. It has really nothing to do with anything extension related. It's about Cornell chicken.
Yeah.
But we timed it so that it came out.
Extension.
Yeah, a little bit. But we timed it so it came out before Memorial Day, and that did really well, and a lot of engagements. And it's like I said, it's our most popular podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Katie is featured in it, so that probably had a lot to do with it.
Wait, I had this pulled up. Where did it go? Oh, I'll find it again.
Okay, and then I guess one kind of example that we started doing more recently, kind of talked about before, is how can we utilize Instagram stories more and better. And so we really kind of took our time to figure out what kind of series we wanted to do, because we just didn't want to just do the same things and just add random GIFs and stuff. And because also if you try to be too cool, students are going to call you out. They do it all the time. So our Instagram feed, we knew from our strategy, had a lot of campus beauty, and we wanted to bring in research, but we knew that we were going to have to do it in a way that was interesting to students and snappy. And so we did our research Instagram series. And so basically what I did was I created templates in Canva. And then I just take pieces from like the Cornell Research or Chronicle, take some of that wording, put it in there, add a graphic or image, just like 5 slides tops. And then I will say, because we have over 10,000 followers, we can swipe at the end of it and it will link to the piece. But there is a workaround. You can just link it in the bio. But it was really successful for us just because when we started rolling it out, some people would DM us and be like, oh, this is a really cool idea to feature research. So that's, to me, like the biggest form of validation when students or alumni are like replying back and finding it interesting. And then really kind of for any trend, we always go back and see, okay, was it worth it? How did it do? Can we make it better? And so that's when I paid more attention to our Google Analytics, because the goal is to get traffic back to the Chronicle pieces. So I kind of would go through the different series and kind of see how many people clicked, how long they were on the website. And a lot of the time, our Instagram users are very engaged, and sometimes more traffic would go through Instagram than like Twitter or Facebook post, which I found really, really interesting. So it kind of told us we're in the right direction, so kind of keep doing what we're doing. That's kind of my example of a trend that we kind of utilized for Cornell.
Can you show it?
Yeah. And I made this all through Canva. This is a really old one. This was for the Super Bowl, using kind of research for the media relations office. And it's just like super quick slides. A lot of it's just text, just because you don't need a lot. And then you can add fun little GIFs and movement on Instagram when it's appropriate. And then we always do the swipe up to learn more about this research. And so that converts everyone back to the website. And then it's just these are just other ones. But
What guides like the number of slides you use?
I really just watching like retention rate. I mean, for things like commencement, people usually watch all the way through, but if it's just a research piece, if it's usually more than 5 slides, people will either like pass it or exit it. And 5 slides is usually all I need to get like the beginning slide, the bumper, and maybe have like 3 or 4. This is a nano guitar playing with water. Yeah, so I typically try to keep 5 or 6 slides, unless it's something really interesting like this. But yeah, and then always swipe up to learn more about the research. And I try to do it once a week, every other week, depending on, I think it depends on the research too, because it has to be visual, it has to be interesting and stuff like that.
How long would a post like that take you? Storage?
So when I first started, it took a while because I was getting the template, but now I can kind of just in like 30 or 40 minutes kind of create the slides, export them, put them up onto Instagram, and it's fine. Yeah, and then you can just archive them in the highlights so they're not gone forever.
So you're putting these in your story and then you're updating them in your highlight every week?
Yeah, so if you can exit it and then you'll see like on the profile our research, so then you can kind of just go back and look at all of it too. Which was one of the reasons why we kind of waited a little bit to use Instagram stories, because we didn't want to create all of this content that took time and then have it disappear and have a very tiny shelf life. So that's why we kind of waited to figure out what Instagram was doing. But now that we can archive them all up there, our work doesn't have to disappear.
How did you get these little icons?
Oh, I made those on Canva too.
And it lets you just upload.
Yep, you can, when you edit your highlight, you can click the little thumbnail image from your Canva roll and you can just add that and just makes it look a lot cleaner.
And how many slides are you updating on your highlights weekly?
It really depends on my workload that week, what research pieces we have. So like we didn't really do a lot during commencement weekend, but I just did the most recent one this week, and we'll probably do another one either end of the week or next week. So it's not like a timed schedule. It's kind of just whenever we get good content, then we'll do it. So we're focusing on quality, not quantity.
Got a few questions before we continue with this general question. So what is the best way to find out the most liked, shared photos and videos on all social media at once? Anyone?
I go platform by platform.
Yeah, we use Sprout Social, but it's very expensive. And so like we understand that like smaller accounts don't. So platform by platform. It kind of sucks, but like I'm not gonna lie. But you kind of, and there's easy ways to sort it out now on Facebook and Twitter and even on Instagram too. And we just screenshot it and compile that to a report.
Katie, can you repeat what the original question was?
What is the best way to find out the most liked, shared photos and videos on all social media at once?
Oh.
It's in the chat box. Any other insights about collecting that information?
I mean, what other tools have you guys experimented with?
Yeah, so I know Vitaly, who's our chief new media officer, he looks at BuzzSumo, and that's more for like the virality of like news pieces. So it's not strictly social. It's like, what are people talking about that's Cornell just on the web? So he really focuses on that. We use Sprout Social, and we like that because it's scheduling. It is expensive, so I really don't recommend it for like smaller accounts, but you can also tag certain content on like different platforms. So like for New York State Impact on Twitter, or really on Facebook and LinkedIn, we can tag all of our posts. So that way at the end of the month, we can actually export like, okay, I want to see all the posts across all of our platforms that were New York State Impact, and we can do that. But it is expensive, but that is one that we really like. But it is sometimes just going manually through it and just going month by month, finding the top ones and trying to figure out like why they were great. I don't know if anyone else has anything else that they do.
Can you post right from Canva to Instagram on your computer?
Can't do anything with Instagram on your computer.
Yeah, I don't know. Canva's constantly changing. I don't like scheduling anything, even through Sprout to Instagram, because you can't add the filters, the spacing's off, you can't add the location. So for Instagram, I'm always a proponent of posting on the platform just because it gives you a little bit more control. I don't know if anyone else uses something else to schedule.
There is an app called Later that does the scheduling. We got an account recently because with a new hire that was going to be helping me with the social media accounts, we thought it would be good to put photos in there and schedule them out from there, and it can actually post from there. It's a free phone app, but actually we've just worked it out where we're not using Later right now, but it is an option.
We use Hootsuite for all of our platforms, but for Instagram in particular, I always have an alert on my phone for whenever the post is scheduled so that I can go in and make any edits if something goes awry in the way that it posts, like with the spacing in particular and not being able to tag photos.
So the post that Connie was talking about with the Produce Safety Alliance on farm readiness reviews is what you're seeing right now on the Produce Safety Alliance Facebook page.
So in Sullivan County, that reminds me, on Facebook, a popular post was more of an informative CDC warning during the romaine lettuce scare. So that was one of our most popular posts in the last year.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it was, we had a mixture of reactions, and just kind of goes to show a lot of times when we have news related that's timely, that gets a lot of engagement. And on Instagram, our most popular post in the last year was about a partnership between CCE and a local business association and various other partners on a community development project. We were transforming, we're working on transforming a vacant historic and former train depot site into a visitor center. So we'll have programs and gardens and a commons and music venue and a lot of other things. The picture in that post was not particularly exciting or inviting. It was our ED with the business association president in front of the site, which was sort of dilapidated. And the popularity of the post really confirmed my preferred approach to use Instagram to tell longer stories versus the quick captions of other platforms like Facebook, and to really include partners in that to gain movement.
Our most popular post on Facebook was actually rather silly, and Jared, our executive director, had us do a lip sync video.
That was great.
And we had a lot of fun with it. It took us like 20 minutes to film on the GoPro, and I just overlaid some music, and the song was "Thank You for Being a Friend," which it was like the remake of the Golden Girls song. It was more like reggae-ish. And we played it for our volunteers at our volunteer appreciation event. And so we just posted it to share, and it pretty much took off around the state, which was horrifying for Jared, poor Jared, because he was our lead singer, but we loved it. So, and on Instagram, it was a post with Congressman Delgado when he was reading to our elementary school youth during Ag in the Classroom. And that, we tagged him in it, so I'm sure that did most of the heavy lifting for us.
Katie, if you could go back to the Produce Safety Alliance page and scroll up just a little bit.
All right, just 1 second. Okay.
So you'll see those two maps. Those are GIFs I created using Google Slides and a website called talltweets.com. It's really easy. You just make the slides and then you go to that website and you tell it how many seconds you would like each slide to appear for and how wide you would like it to be. So they're perfect for Twitter and Facebook. So there's a couple examples of those there.
What's the site's name again?
Tall, T-A-L-L, tweets.com. And you just use Google Slides, you log in with your Google account, and it turns it into a really quick GIF.
And then Brianna shared this in the chat box. It's a video that's being by, I think, National 4-H that's being promoted by Google. Something needs to check out. Yeah. Any other successful posts?
I think this kind of just came from the discussion, but with the kind of lip syncing video, but kind of on the other side of the spectrum, like I always like when brands show a little bit of personality when appropriate. And so for us, that was one thing that we wanted to do more. And so we incorporated like Touchdown, the bear. And so we did like our holiday video where he like made snow angels and made like snowflakes, like crafting with students, and like it was really fun. And like I think it's important to like when it's appropriate and when it's the right time to do stuff like that, because it's really authentic and people like having some personality from a brand. And it's of course aligning it with your strategy. So we were going to do a holiday greeting anyway, so it kind of just worked out. But we always try to find some like fun things like that lip syncing thing that's authentic and fun. Because people want to see that too on social media. So
You made the 4th.
oh yeah, we made a 4th video with R2D2 kind of roaming around campus. We work with Brand for that. But we just knew it was going to be a trending topic that day. And so a lot of other places and like institutions in higher education create something. So we knew it was going to be trending. We knew our peers were going to do it. So we wanted to do something that was cool, but not too time intensive, because if it was too good, the people were like, why are you spending all your time doing this? But no, so that was an example of like, we knew it was coming, we knew it was going to be trending, and we kind of just like planned ahead, and it really paid off.
All right. Next question, if you could share only one tip with someone looking to expand their social media presence, what would it be?
I would just say stay curious. Always kind of, social media is constantly changing. And so, you know, you're always going to be learning something new. I'm always learning something new. So like always kind of see what other people are doing, look what peers are doing, and seeing how you can adapt it. Just because I think sometimes it's very easy to stay like in your lane and just stand still. But if you stay curious and if you look at what other people are doing and kind of brainstorm how you can adapt that to your strategy, if you can, I think that's the biggest tip. And just knowing your strategy in the first place, and like why you have a social media presence and what you're trying to convey.
Yeah, and I'd say, I mean, for me, I'd say identify, follow, and connect with your partners and your stakeholders. Engage with them, mention them. When appropriate, retweet their stuff, share their stuff. Just you want to be able to kind of have that crossover. One of our bigger partners is New York State Ag and Markets, and they're constantly sharing our stuff. We share theirs, and they have 6,000 followers plus on Facebook. So they're a really good asset for us to have in that.
Yeah, and that's kind of on the reasons for social media. You're
right.
supposed to be social, so yeah.
Yeah, I would say start where it makes sense for you. Don't make too many accounts just because you think you need to be on each platform. Use what makes sense for your audience and really try and understand your audience. If for us, having our events on Facebook has increased our numbers almost exponentially. So it makes sense for us to post our events on Facebook, but we don't have the time to manage a Snapchat account. And so we don't have a Snapchat account. And the only audience I think it would be relevant for is 4-H. So, where is your audience? What are their needs? And utilizing what makes sense for you.
I would say post regularly. That was one of the issues that we're still trying to overcome from when I joined the team, is when an account goes dormant for too long. Everything's run by algorithm now instead of a timeline. So a lot of stuff gets hidden. like our Twitter still is pretty low engagement compared to what it was when it was actively being used because it was dormant for almost 2 years. But then in launching the Instagram, I launched that in October, and we've posted at least 3 times a week, every week since it launched, outside of the Christmas, New Year holiday. And from, you know, starting from scratch, we're at over 1,200 followers now, a pretty high level of engagement and a rather high level of click-through using the kind of link tree in our profile, which I was really surprised by. And I think that a lot of that just comes from posting regularly.
Something I would add is to proofread, because you can't edit on Twitter. And so that can trip some folks up. Another thing, before I share anything that someone else has posted, I read it and make sure that we're okay with that same message. Because especially when things are around the produce safety rule, which is kind of new, different educators may interpret things differently. And if it's not something that the produce safety rule would the Produce Safety Alliance would stand behind, I'm not going to share it. Even if it is coming across as another institution and we're just sharing it. I don't want to be responsible for sharing information I don't believe in. I think that would cause our account to lose credibility.
So I support what a lot of people are saying about not kind of getting crazy with all the different platforms if you don't have the time or the resources, or if it just doesn't make sense for your means and your staff and everything else. So part of that, to me, my tip would be don't treat every platform the same. If you have one, that's fine, but do the research for the particular platform. They're not all the same. People engage differently. The content should be catered to that platform. Like for instance, Instagram is supposed to be instant in the moment. It's supposed to have a more artistic look to it. There are different schools of thought on that, but just you know, paying attention to what platform you're on and whether, you know, how long, how many characters you should have. And sometimes when you use some of the programs that do like sort of mass posting across platforms, that you can't do that. So just a note.
Any other tips for expanding your presence on social media? All right, we're on to the last question, the last prepared question. What strategies do you have, and this might not be relevant for everyone, but if it's relevant, what strategies do you have for collaborating with colleagues that are using the same accounts as you?
So this doesn't really apply that much to me because I really kind of oversee the day-to-day drumbeat of content. But from working with others is and I said this before, having a content calendar, or like if you have multiple people, if it's like if one person wants to do Instagram, like, or one person wants to do Twitter, like talking to each other and coordinating, just because that way, like you could be posting different things, your tone could be completely different. So really just coordination and just having that content calendar, and being able to have a sustainable content calendar, and then knowing who's doing what. Especially for like big events, so you're not like double posting and stuff like that. Like I said, it doesn't really apply that much to me and our unit.
This is a really important question in my opinion, because when you have a lot of people, a lot of cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, you sometimes, you know, it's gonna affect your overall style and tone. So you want to communicate what that is. So it's effective to have one leader, someone who manages everything to some degree, who's watching and monitoring and editing in some cases, content, comments, messages, things like that, and just having somebody who will communicate an overall strategy.
So the way we do that at Produce Safety Alliance is I do the majority of the posting. Our coordinator will post stuff sometimes, but for the most part, it's me. And so to get everyone involved, we just have a file in Box. And if they see something that's worth posting, they add it to the spreadsheet, add a photo that they think might be good to use with it. And if there's a link to outside information, and then I craft the posts. But that way there's always a list of something I can use. I try to post at least once a week to all 3 accounts. And that way I always have a constant source of content.
We have a similar strategy at the Small Farms program. I manage all of the accounts and I'm the lead writer, but we have weekly meetings as a team, so I'm always kind of checking in on if anyone else has content ideas. And then I also have a team of rotating interns who help with some of the kind of analytics analysis, strategy for hashtags, that kind of stuff. They do the backing research to help support, especially on Instagram, what makes the most sense. And that's one strategy thing I wanted to mention is, especially for those of us with smaller accounts, you don't always want to use the most popular hashtag. You kind of get hit back in terms of ending up on the discover page or the landing page for that hashtag because it is so popular. So find some of the more niche ones and always change up what we're using. So like for us, we're always posting about small farms, but we don't always use the small farms hashtag because it is, pretty highly concentrated in the amount of content that's going there.
For me, I manage the accounts and I have about 4 people working on them. And what's really been helpful is that each of us focus on a different area. So there's me, and I kind of focus more on the stories and what we're doing in the community. I have another admin person working on the events, so they're constantly posting on events and boosting those posts as we get closer if we need more people, or linking that stuff. I have a board member who's posting completely different content, and that's more on the board level. And then I have an ag staff that's posting on ag stuff. So I don't really ever have to worry about crossing lines there, and we connect on things usually as we're posting anyway. So I think it's that constant communication, but also knowing that you have different players in the game that are going to bring something to the table that are different from each other.
Excellent. Well, thank you. That concludes the prepared questions. So we'll open it up now for any sort of question related to social media that anyone might have. Feel free to put them in the chat box or just say them out loud. Can be questions for a specific panelist or just general questions. Can be things we talked about or things we didn't talk about. Whatever.
I have a question, even though I'm on the panel. I am wondering what people do. Are you following individuals back? We have a thing like, don't do that because to me it's creepy, but people really like it and they get excited sometimes when you follow just individuals back. What are your thoughts?
I think it depends on the platform and who that individual is. So like for us, we follow faculty or like extension associates, or for Instagram, it's a little more because it's students. And so like, I don't want to be watching their Instagram story from the Cornell account. So we really only follow a handful of students, and those are the ones that are like really taking good photos of Cornell that I've seen on the discovery page, and I just don't want to keep checking their profile because we'll repost some of them. But that's really it. We try not to follow too many students unless they're doing something, they work with us. That's kind of like how we do it, just because we also don't want that all in our feed.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll do our all of our stakeholders, such as legislators, anybody that's campus related. But then also, like if I see, like an ag person that seems to be an influencer in the community, I'll follow them because they are.
And they're probably more inclined to mention you and
well,
like,
they do.
retweet you then.
Yeah, they follow us first, and then
Yeah.
they amplify our stuff. So I try to include them, when we're trying to build audience.
When we started, I followed all of our kind of direct partners and people immediately in the the Cooperative Extension Network and the Small Farms Network, and then established a policy for following back any specific farm or ag-related accounts. So it could be an individual farmer that just has a really strong Instagram. Sometimes like we focus some folks that are interested in like seeds and farm tech and may not be a business, but are posting a lot about it and is of interest to us. And then we always follow back people who use our hashtag to kind of show that level of support, because most of the time we do end up sharing it on our account.
Thank you.
Another question in the chat box: how do we know what is good to reshare on Facebook and Instagram? Is Throwback Thursday or Flashback Friday appropriate?
Depends what it is.
Yeah.
I saw, I can't remember who did this now that I'm saying it out loud. Somebody posted like an old-timey photo of a dairy farm and used either one of those hashtags for Dairy Month. I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah, I think if you have good content, I think that's gonna drive it. I think just you like, oh, I need to do it like a Throwback Thursday. Like, I think it usually comes when you're like, oh, this is a really cool like archive picture and we're gonna use it. So I don't know. I think it just depends on the content. Yeah, and the time too. Like, if it makes sense, like during like some type of like same event that occurs every single year that's been happening for years, and like now you want to do like a throwback to like 30 years, that makes sense because it's the right time to the right people for the right reasons. So I think it kind of just depends.
In terms of resharing, we approach it very differently on Facebook versus Instagram. So Instagram, it will really reshare anyone if it's appropriate to the small farms audience. On Facebook, we almost exclusively only share project partners content or other kind of high-level ag service providers and organizations. We wouldn't share an individual.
We will if, you know, especially if they're mentioning CCE doing something great in a community. You know, the ag in the classroom readings is one that comes to mind. We had some teachers or some schools post stuff, and we'll share those.
So I have a question for, I think, Nicole. You said you're using Instagram.
Me? Yes.
Tell us more about how you're using it.
Elaborate on that question.
So when you created it, did you have in mind like your staff and your colleagues, or was it more to share with a wider professional audience? And then also, like, what kind of posts, if any, do you use? Do you post?
Oh, are you talking about LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said Instagram.
Oh, I'm not LinkedIn, sorry.
No, I covered that. Yes, LinkedIn. So I don't have actually a CCE account, but I use my account to push CCE stuff out just because of the time, you know, limited resources and time, staff time to manage a whole LinkedIn account. But it is a goal. So because we can really promote like from the professional development side and some research stuff that might be a little too dry for the other platforms. But so basically I do a lot of job help wanted type stuff when we have job openings. And it's just me because it's my account. But people know me as who, you know, where I work. I've been here 10 years. So it's sort of all cohesive. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
You guys have kind of started doing more with LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, LinkedIn is like that, and Instagram are like, they're really different, but in a really good way. Like, it's really great for alumni because we know who they are. They're kind of really, really engaged. Like, they're the ones that are commenting like, oh, this is great research. This is great. Like, for commencement, they're so involved. And so even for video too, LinkedIn's extremely valuable. And we really focus on like alumni, staff, faculty, just general research, just because people that are connected with us on LinkedIn are of course going to be interested in kind of our major research that's going on. So it's kind of a similar drumbeat to Twitter or Facebook, but sometimes we do a little different content-wise to LinkedIn. Yeah.
Is anyone else using LinkedIn for professional? Well, I guess it kind of by nature is professional, but for like CC or Cornell related content?
I opened an account, but it's not really active. I guess when we have a job posting, I haven't completed it, I guess is where I'm at now. I do think maybe it would make sense for HR to manage that since they'll be doing the job postings and stuff. Maybe that's something we can kind of delegate out a little bit in terms of time and resources. And it just makes sense, you know, if you have someone hiring and stuff to be populating that. So.
Yeah, we're looking to add an account, but we're still trying to find.
Yeah, I know a lot of other colleges, they do like a lot of research stuff, but they do a lot of job postings. And I know, I want to say Cal's did this. They like made like kind of just templated cards for like, we're hiring. And so that way they can just take and pull that right in, update it and link it. And it's presentable, it's branded to like what exactly you want. And it's not a huge burden on the social media manager to like constantly come up with like an image for like a job posting because they know it's already there and they know it's like branded and it's going to pop up in the timeline too. So that's one thing that I've seen that other schools have done. Yeah.
I think when we get an association-wide LinkedIn, we're straight gonna do like user-generated content. We're just gonna share probably all of your posts.
And one more question in the chat box. It's great to have a lot of people on our social media, but how do you statistically and empirically document that they end up using CCE services or registering for our programs or contributing to our association? Followers might not necessarily do anything for the association, not even promoting it. So how do you document that there is an actual payoff?
It's a good question. We don't really do that much like, you know, for ours, but I think it's having clear KPIs. Like, what are your key performance indicators? Like if it's an event, are you like tracking that link to the sign-in sheet to like signups? Are you comparing it to what you did last time? And then are you using that information to see what happens? So it's kind of documenting everything, trying to come up with a standard and a goal, and then just seeing it through. It's easy to constantly move on to the next project, but like it's really important to keep benchmarks depending on if it's like web signups, newsletter, event like attendance, and I think that's going to vary depending on your communications method.
Directing traffic to your website and then harnessing that data through Google Analytics, that's one way, but so, you know, having social media presence is just important in and of itself, whether you're selling anything, it's still really important, just that's where everybody is all day.
Positive brand impressions.
Brand development.
Yeah, they build an affinity to your brand.
Brand development, community engagement too, if you're using your stories, if you're contacting people that way, building that community. And yeah, I use the Google Analytics. Since we started putting our events on Facebook, we've had an 80% increase of traffic from Facebook to our website, which is huge. So set up your Google Analytics and start looking at that stuff.
And we have some input from Katrina about LinkedIn. They set up a central listing for extension, but did not find it particularly useful for content. And she says, job postings, last I checked, on LinkedIn have to be paid for with minimal return, but they do aggregate from Indeed, last she checked. And more often than not, she just posts links to the job listing page on their site. Very good. So we actually have only 1 minute left. Any final remarks? This has been really informative for me. So I want to say thank you again very much to the panelists and to everyone for joining. Any last comments before we close out today?
I have one.
Go for it.
Reflect the diversity of your audience in your imagery. Oh, don't forget about that.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Well, it's 2 o'clock, so it's time to close out. Thanks again, and I will be sending information about our call next month shortly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.